there, and it kind of was like, okay, what we wanted, information kind of came out, which was nice. I was like, okay. So it was like, he did tell us we're different. And they are, what's his name? Howard has lived multiple lives, which was creepy as fuck. That he goes and like basically like consumes his like children's bodies.
The parasite. Yes,
Yeah, that was like nasty. And the way I envisioned him like basically throwing up into her mouth, I was like, no. Like black goop.
Is
He's all
that
bloated and nasty.
That's nasty.
Wait, what?
I was like, was that at the end?
It was like the middle, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was the third to last chapter, I believe.
Oh, okay.
I just want to get that.
Oh,
I was like, oh.
that's gross.
And he's like, what? They said he's either 300 or 400 years old. And they keep calling him a god, but like Karina said, he's more like a parasite.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's disgusting. I was like, they basically marry into their own family, and they're like, oh, you'll be good to carry children.
Big incest themes, right? You're not supposed to be sin, so.
I was almost surprised that oh my god, I'm totally spacing on her name right now. Noemi wasn't like down to like marry. What's his name? Francis.
Well, not on those terms.
It's like, oh, they want you to marry me and like carry my children. I was like almost surprised that she didn't be like, yeah, let's do it.
Like, she does like him. She does like him for sure.
She does seem like she's into him. Like in that part where she wanted to kiss him.
Mm-hmm.
And then she said, oh, did she say it was easier when it wasn't meaningful? Or like it was more difficult when she wanted it to be meaningful or something. So I'm like, oh, I think she's into this guy.
It's easy.
Like she's having like sex dreams about what's his name?
Virgil.
Yeah. And I'm like, isn't like not once does she mention, hey, he's married to my cousin. Like she can't do that.
That's
you know?
too.
She never once mentions like I can't do that's forbidden.
It's just like, oh, he's handsome and oh he's
handsome. Like she's down for it, you know?
Like if she
which I kind of found like disturbing.
Like during that part. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Katie.
Oh, it's okay. I thought the fungus was getting into her head, like making her, like they were making her feel that way on purpose. Like she didn't actually feel that way because once everything was like all the gloom was gone and they're like off of her body, she like came to her senses and was like disgusted. But I don't know about her because the moment things started getting weird, I would just have left. And like having that last dinner together and everyone's dressed up and acting all weird, I would have been out of there. I don't know.
Yeah, like she should have sensed that something was off.
I think
it's like, oh, Howard wants to see you. Like I wouldn't have gone.
No.
Like I don't know why she's like felt the need to go say like goodbye. Like no, she had like weird vibes from him from the beginning.
Right, because of the culture, it seems like it would be appropriate to say goodbye.
Bid farewell.
Oh, that's true. That's true. It's like a cultural thing, right? It's like, oh, le tienes que besar la mano. Like I don't know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I was gonna
everyone
say too,
say bye to everyone.
During during this whole scenes where Noemi's sleepwalking or she's like having these dreams, I couldn't tell what was real and what was not. Like especially when after Howard like spit this black stuff into her, and she was seeing like like what happened, right? She was in the gloom. And then at one point, Howard says, have you seen it? He asks her, I believe, have you seen enough or something? But she's back in her room and he's just sitting at the chair. And then it turns out to be Virgil. So
it's him, right? He's basically like, I wonder if it's like the transition is slow. Like he's feeding him like that black stuff little by little so it lives within him. And eventually like it's all of him and like the old body dies.
I think that's what happens.
Right? So maybe that's why she kind of sees them both. Because even in the beginning, when she had that like dream of him, of Virgil, like basically undressing her with his eyes while she was in bed. It was like her first night, right? First or second night. And like first she sees Howard's creepy ass smile, and then she sees Virgil's creepy smile. But then she's like, oh, like maybe like it's like okay because it's Virgil, but not because it's Howard.
It's better looking.
I was like, but she's basically seeing Howard, but in Virgil's body.
Ooh, yeah, that's true. You know what I found funny too? When Florence told Noemi, like, oh, you think Howard will let him have you? When she meant it to be like very insulting, but that was their plan all along. So I don't know, she's just like lying to her too. I also wonder because Noemi mentioned that she has like more indigenous blood, and they were saying like, oh, the fungus likes you better, something like that. I was wondering if maybe that was why, because Howard kind of stole it from the indigenous people when he got to Mexico. So it made me kind of think like a colonism theme as well. Also, I started reading on the Kindle, and the quote that you mentioned, Judith, where it said easy to kiss someone when it didn't matter, that had like 900 something highlights.
Everyone loves that.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. That's a cool feature. So you can like when you highlight something, you can see when other like Kindle users are highlighting the same stuff.
I think so. Yeah, because it tells you how many. And it kind of like dash lined, underlined, so you can see other people have highlighted it.
But is that like not when you're opening the book and you're reading it? It's after you highlight it?
No, it's there because I didn't highlight anything. I'm not really one to do a ton of annotations.
Oh, so all the highlighted stuff is already there while you're reading?
I think if it has a significant number, then yeah, it shows up and it tells you like how many.
Oh, I feel like that would alter my mind. To think, my thoughts to be like, why was that highlighted? And like it would trigger stuff.
You'll think
Like you
about
think more into it, yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, I have a question, you guys. So, when Noemi had the burn on her hand and she went back to the doctor and the burn went away really quick? Do you think that's that fungus in the air that's doing it? Or she's somehow slowly integrating into the family? And, getting, some of the powers that they have. Kind of like, when she burned her hand with a cigarette.
And it wasn't there anymore.
And it wasn't there the next time she looked at it. That's also a part where I couldn't tell, okay, is this real or not? Or
Was it a dream?
Yeah, because then I think that's when Florence and Virgil came because they heard a yell or something and she was in the bathroom.
Because she burned herself, right? Because it hurt.
Yeah, because she was looking at the walls. It was like pulsating and everything. The house was alive, essentially. So do you think she's getting like special powers? I couldn't tell.
I think so, maybe because they said one type of the fungi makes them immortal. So I don't know if there's another type in the house that, because they were giving her things in her food without her knowing, and so she was also breathing it in, so she was able to like heal rapidly from it. Or maybe it was part of the gloom, because the gloom, I guess, is like that in between reality and dreamlike. I don't know. They explained it a little bit, the gloom. It was interesting. But we were right, and I think last time one of us said Alice and Agnes were his sisters. Howard's sisters.
That was gross, yeah.
So he's nasty.
I also thought it was kind of sad where it said Francis has never been loved. And I wonder if that's because they wished he was a girl, which is kind of like reversed about how most societies like favor boys. But because if he was born a girl, then Howard would have been able to like impregnate that person, and then the cycle could continue. But because he wasn't a girl, they had to find someone else.
And I wonder if is it just Howard's children that he can do it to? Move between bodies.
I think what I remember reading was that he wants to keep it within the family, like no outsiders at all. But since there was no daughter,
He was
And-
forced to find another.
Yeah,
substitute.
and I think since after Ruth shot him, he became very weak, and I think that's when he became impotent, and that's where we saw that cancer. It's kind of like a part of Howard now that he can't have kids. So I thought that was also interesting.
I got nervous on the tub scene because I just wrote bad things always happen during tub scenes in scary movies. It's like, no, never to go back. It was creepy.
I forgot to look up. They kept saying something in Latin.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot to look up what it meant, but I feel like
What was it? We can look it up right now.
I need to find what page it was on. I think it was when he was putting the black sludge in her mouth.
I thought it meant like death above and below or something.
Yeah, what they said towards the beginning of the book.
I think so, but let me look for it.
Was it a reference to the snake thingy, maybe? Like, life becomes death or something? I don't know. Death becomes life.
I found it. It's on page 220.
Verbum caro factus.
Truth, something. Hopefully, I don't know Latin actually. Caro?
And the word was made flesh.
Oh, snap.
Why is it the word though? Oh, it's from the Bible. Oh no. Oh yeah. And then I wonder, do you guys think that Noemi was really sleepwalking, or was it the influence of the fungus that was making her just kind of, wander the house and do weird things?
I think it was a combination of both. Because she said when she was younger, she did sleepwalk.
Mm.
And I think like the realism of a dream, like kind of took her back to like those old times where it's like she felt like she was walking through the same hallways of that house that she was seeing in her dream. Like it was so real.
Because I feel like let's say you already have I'm not saying that sleepwalking is bad, but let's say this sickness you already have, or this past experience, past issue you have, and then it just comes again. Like if it heightens whatever you had in the past,
Mhm.
because like obviously the fact that she already did that, it's like, oh, maybe it's just coming back. Like let's say she's stressed and that just happens or something.
Mhm.
But maybe the on mushroom or all that is somehow triggering stuff from her past that was fixed. Like,
Mhm.
what's that word? Not rewind. But you know what I mean.
Relapse?
Yeah, kind of. Like you were good, and then now like your bad habits are coming out. Although I don't know if I guess sleepwalking is a bad habit, right? Could be.
It depends, and I think in this case it is bad, right? Because she's ending up in Virgil's room. She's ending up in all these weird places that,
And Virgil's using it against her, like to make her mad and sass her, because he was like, "Oh, do you want to walk in? Were you trying to walk into Francis's room or something?" Just to like make her more confused, I think.
Yeah.
Like, what do you know? What is real? What is not real?
I also thought it was weird when he said, "Are you gonna be a good girl or something?" Because it happened in the dream,
He's creeping on her.
and then he actually said it to her, and she was.
That's when the lines get blurred between what we think is really happening and what we think is her kind of dream or trance-like state, I feel. But probably in both of them, for all we know, because of his superhero powers or whatever, supervillain powers.
Who is Arthur? Anybody remember?
It's the doctor, I think, right? Arthur Cummings.
Mhm.
Oh.
I got confused when they started calling him by first name because
Oh.
Howard like married the daughter as well, right? And she died in childbirth or something like that.
Yeah, because that was when they mentioned that Virgil was previously married. I was like, what? And it's like, oh, the first wife was Arthur's daughter. I'm like, I don't know who is Arthur? And I was thinking it was the guy from the protest, but he was like Aurelio or something, right?
Yeah.
That was Benito, right?
Aurelio,
Aurelio.
Aurelio and Benito. And I was like, who's that?
It was his niece, right? That's what they said because the doctor is also a Doyle, but he just has a different last name.
Distant Doyle.
Distance Doyle.
Ooh.
Cringe, I know. I was also laughing when Noemi started beating up Florence. I was like, oh, it's getting real.
Oh yeah, that was
Yeah, that was interesting. And then what did you all think of Catalina investing in the mine? And then later Francis telling Noemi, like, oh yeah, we'll take your body and we'll take your money. And I'm like, they're so greedy.
They I don't know, I lost my train of thought, but
It's all good.
it goes back to, they said it earlier in the section that we read that they think Howard is a god, and so like it's just how things are, like they're very complacent, that's just how things are with this guy, and we have to do what he says, and they're not concerned of the whatever collateral damage happens
Yeah, that makes sense.
because of their lineage. Because also in the beginning of the book, they were talking about how they're so superior to everyone else.
But they need everyone else to survive, so
Yeah.
ironic.
I thought it was very interesting that somehow this fungus that somehow, I don't know if Howard controls it or not, but somehow if you start disobeying what it wants you to do, it'll make you weak. Like when Noemi, she's like, okay, I'm gonna start running away. And then she got out of breath and then she fell down and she was only like right outside the house. When she came back in, she got her normal, she was in her normal state. So I'm wondering like who controls that? Is it Howard or is it something else?
It's the fungus, I think.
So does the fungus control Howard then? That's what I'm thinking.
So he's really not the god like the fungus is.
Mm-hmm.
Burned down the house. Because it said what is it? It's not on the house or in the house. It's like
it's under, right?
It's under or something. Yeah, that's kind of just consumed the house, like in the walls.
Mm-hmm. It has infiltrated, and then it just kind of took over. And now the family's taking over.
Well, the family I think got immune to it, right? Because of the so many like them consuming it over time.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, and I think I'm not sure, but I feel like it mentioned that they were also a tiny bit more compatible with it, so maybe that's why they think they're superior too.
Mm-hmm.
Like Noemi's more compatible with Catalina.
Mm-hmm.
They also mentioned that Howard has a certain amount of control over everybody because Francis was saying at the end of the section, once there's going to be a time when Howard's super weak and not as focused on keeping everyone in line, that she might be able to escape.
Oh, true.
I think that's when he's transferring bodies, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Guys.
Makes sense.
Mm-hmm. And I wonder if Virgil's gonna try to like become the god himself, because I wouldn't be that happy about my dad killing me and taking over my body. Like, what happens to Virgil?
Yeah, that's a good point. Maybe he transfers to the old body and he dies.
Maybe. Well, that's why he's seducing what's her name again?
No.
Seducing her to try to impregnate her so he becomes the new god.
Ooh, maybe.
Because he's doing a lot of weird stuff.
He's very strange.
Yeah.
He reminds me of a sociopath.
because he kind of knew that she had that like sexual dream about him, right? Like in the bathtub. I wonder if he planted it there.
I feel like it is.
He also said, "I can make you do anything I want," right?
Mm-hmm.
Seems
Yeah.
like
Howard or Rachel?
he does seem to have some sort of control as well.
But I wonder if it is it Howard that's in him or is it actually Virgil?
That's what I've been wondering. I wonder how quickly the transfer happens. Like maybe Howard and like maybe they both inhabit Virgil's body for some amount of time, and if Howard's inhabiting his body and he has like extra powers, then he can like do funky stuff in Nomi's mind, and then maybe he leaves, and that's when Virgil acts a little bit differently. And like little by little, Howard will be in Virgil's body for a longer amount of time until Virgil, you know, is not strong enough or is just ejected from his own body, like his spirit.
My next thing that I wanted to bring up that was that Marta, the fortune teller, not the fortune teller, but
Which?
the witch, she somehow knew to create this tincture or potion that messes with the fungus's powers.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think maybe she has something like maybe not directly her, but her family was connected to Ruth? That's the reason why Ruth was like, I wasn't strong enough to kill off like this god.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe her family has a history of trying to help.
Maybe I was just
Or because they've somehow mastered or known what works and what doesn't work, right? Like
exactly because somehow she, you know, made.
knows what to do.
And it's not the first time she's made it. It's not like she made it on accident.
Maybe
So-
she's a descendant from the indigenous people that Howard killed, like at the very beginning when they lived in that little cave.
Yeah, I'm just wondering because I know we spoke about her last time and we mentioned that she might play a bigger role. And I'm just wondering if what it's going to be.
I
Yeah.
thought that part was weird too, because if this family's so gung-ho about keeping this guy alive and keeping their lineage alive, and it was so easy for them to get this potion into the house multiple times, I don't know. Maybe they knew about it, but they didn't want to freak her out because they didn't want her to just run off. I don't know. I just thought it was strange that they didn't let it happen so many multiple times, because it just seemed like they have everything, and it just like slipped in to their house.
Yeah.
Catalina took it multiple times.
I wonder if she probably started figuring it out because she was sneaky and like putting those secret letter or note in the book and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe she's playing dumb. That way
Maybe,
she can get away with more things to try to help herself.
yeah, because Ruth was like, open your eyes. She was telling Noemi what to do, kind of like helping her.
Like warning.
And I think Catalina has seen Ruth before, I'm certain. So,
I think when I read the letter with the signature just R, which was Ruth, I don't know if Noemi was the one that was thinking like that Catalina and Ruth were kind of like Catalina was still there, but somehow Ruth was coming in, and then they're like, oh, was she the one who wrote the letter sent to my dad? And I was like, that's interesting, because if it is like that, like I wonder what, because like it says right here, but my mother cannot protect me, which is what Alice, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, and then obviously they're talking about like the God, which is Howard. But why is Ruth able to kind of not
Like still be there.
yeah,
Like still be present.
yeah.
Maybe because her brains were shattered all over the house, the walls.
Her brain next to the fungus.
Oh,
Um,
that's interesting.
I wonder if Naomi will bring in her knowledge of stuff from her dad's business to kind of like maybe make a counter potion with Francis's knowledge of mushrooms, because it does seem like no wonder in the past he was saying like, okay, you just need to leave because he's trying to help her in his way. I do think he's too much of a coward to do a lot yet, but maybe when Howard becomes more weakened, he'll be able to do a little bit more, because I feel he does like her.
Yeah, especially in that one section where I think it was a chapter where she was like, about the kissing thing, like towards the end of that one where he was like, no, I'm telling you, leave, like leave.
Yeah.
And you don't understand, like you can tell he's being like genuine, like he's
Gotta go down.
like, just go ahead or it's gonna get worse for you.
Especially when he said that he wished Howard was dead. I felt like that was very telling.
Yeah.
And the abuse that he also endured under Howard, I felt bad for him.
Oh yeah, that was.
Yeah.
He has something up his sleeve. He'll get us all out.
Yeah. Well, I feel like yes, but
Or Howard will inhabit his body and marry Noemi. That's another story.
Or she'll burn down the house with her cigarettes and lighter.
That's what. Okay, this is what I was telling Cody, and I was like, I wonder if Noemi's gonna like kill Howard with the. If she's gonna find the gun, she's. I said hi because initially we had learned that it was opioids in the potion, but it's not actually opioids. I was like, is she gonna kill Howard if she finds the gun while smoking a cigarette? That would be cool.
Although I think what Ruth was telling her, like she did it wrong. She killed him in the wrong way, saying that you can't use a gun. You're gonna have to kill him a different way.
Oh, true.
Like burning him.
Maybe with her.
I feel like she's probably just fed up with like, I'm gonna just do
Maybe
it.
she has to go in the caves to find the source of the power.
Like Harry Potter and finding, what was it called, Katie? The little pieces of the soul.
Don't tell me.
The Horcrux.
Or maybe like the fire and the smoke is telling too, because don't they say that the fungus does not like smoke and cigarettes? So I mean, fire is a symbol of rebirth and healing. So maybe that's what will happen.
Also destruction.
And destruction.
I think she's gonna have to go in the caves somehow.
Maybe
In the
that's,
mine. There you go.
yeah. Maybe that's why Florence is so intense about her not smoking in the house, because the fungus doesn't like smoke.
Yeah, because it affects Howard, I think.
And
Yeah,
since
and also the light, right? This is something with a light. That's why like they only use candles.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's not necessarily the cigarette, but it's like the thought of it accidentally like falling on the floor and lighting up the house. The fear of that they're like, oh, don't. But then I was like, well, what are they using candles? Same thing. Right. Or they use oil lamps, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's the same thing. If one were to fall and shatter, it's like.
I wonder though, like how scientific the book will be, because like when I went to Fremont Peak with my mom and we found that huge mushroom, and my mom like kicked a little piece of it, and I told my mom, "Oh, you're releasing probably thousands and thousands of spores." And you know how Noemi has always been saying like, "Oh, the books from the library are moldy." Probably every time she turns a page, she's like breathing in all the spores, releasing more into the air. So, I mean, it's going to be hard to get out of that.
Well, she's already there.
She's already stuck.
She's already.
She's already in the house getting that.
Yep, because
In her lungs.
of the Howard kiss of death.
The alveoli or whatever they're called.
That was intense, like her teeth falling out.
I was just like full of disgust for most of the section of the book, but I mean, I liked it because I mean, I felt like it kept you reading, you know, kept you interested, like what's going to happen next, but it was pretty gross.
Now, going back to like the candles and how damp everything is. Because at first, when we first started reading the book, like, why is there mold everywhere? Why aren't they like getting some bleach and trying to kill? But it's like in one giant mushroom. It needs to be like cold and damp for it to like continue to live and prosper. And I wonder if smoke has anything to do with like mushrooms and their livelihood or being able to survive.
I wonder.
Because why don't they just take the cigarettes away from her?
Yeah, like they forced her like to literally consume Howard.
Yeah.
Why can't they just like check her stuff and take away whatever they?
Because they go to her room a lot, right? That, like, I feel she makes a lot of references that, like, oh, someone was in my room or someone's bringing me food. And I thought that was weird. I totally feel like usually I feel when you're, I guess, in someone's home, like, yeah, you should follow the rules, but then, like, people shouldn't come into your room and look at all your stuff or, you know, things like that. I don't know. I just felt like they're very creepy when they're telling Noemi that, oh, you're even more suitable than Catalina. I'm like, why? You know,
How so?
is the letter fake just to like get another gal from the same family over to the house to see if she would be more compatible because Catalina's not working out? I don't know.
Maybe they're trying to do that. And they're keeping their own family. They're like, well, if we get this family and then maybe try and somehow do the same thing with two families, so then it becomes bigger possibilities, maybe failure.
Double the chances of basically having someone who can have a baby, you know, from our virtual, I don't know. So.
It's got interesting.
It was interesting. Why would they want Francis to be to marry and have a kid with Noemi? Is it because they have a better relationship than everyone else in the family, or is it because there's some other reason?
Maybe Virgil's too strong, and I think one of you guys said, I think it was Kitty, that like maybe Virgil will try to fight back. Maybe they see Francis as more passive and he'll just accept whatever.
True.
Or also just continue the incest with Catalina and her cousin.
Mm-hmm.
They're cousins. And then Virgil and Francis are cousins. So they're just like their babies and their babies. Our.
Their genetics are probably rotten.
I'm still wondering what Francis's secret is. We haven't been revealed, have we? Unless it was that his mom was or something.
I think that maybe Francis will fight back though because of what happened to his dad and how his dad committed suicide, I think. And his secret knowledge of all the mushrooms. I don't think anyone else has that knowledge because he's very passionate about it. So
Yeah, and I feel like the author, although he's like he's a coward or he's weak, and so, we're not really believing in him.
Mm-hmm.
I think the fact that he knows a lot about the mushrooms and stuff, and now we know that that's one of the main reasons shit is going crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he will do something. Like that'll be the turning point.
I can see your cat's tail, Katie. It looks fun.
Here.
It looks like the family.
So cute.
Yeah, I think so. Because Francis has always been like I feel like the lowest in the family in rank even. I feel like he's going to want to say, oh, okay, take that, you know, I'm getting rid of
it. And be like, oh, nobody saw that coming. He was super weak or there's no way.
Yeah. Something like that.
I hope he does that.
I hope so.
Do you think there's going to be a happy ending?
Not sure.
Yes, because of all the Cinderella fairy tale story references.
But she even says some fairy blood.
But the bloody, like, get rid of all the bad people in the family.
Yeah.
Could be.
Honestly, maybe. All the Doyles disappear.
Oof.
Except Francis.
What? Except for Francis.
Francis.
I was thinking, except for Francis, but what
I think he's going to have to die if the rest of them die.
I think they will all die. If it's a happy ending, I think that probably the Doyles will all die.
Yeah.
I kind of picture the house going up in flames, and like as the house is dying, like the whole Doyle family like start to show their real age, like slowly, and like they start to turn gray and like
wither away.
Yeah.
Where's that from? That's from a show.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's like Tangled.
What?
Oh yeah.
From what?
Tangles.
Tingles. So
She's
that's
like,
not
oh,
a flower.
flower, right? That gives her life. And then when she can no longer get the flower, she like,
Yeah, that's great. I was like, that's
I haven't seen that movie.
no, I think that's cute. It's a cute.
I have it. Yeah.
I
We
think
should watch
that's
it.
multiple. Oh, Game of Thrones did it too. I think
Yeah.
there's yeah,
What?
Haven't seen it either. I want to read the book.
the red girl, the red witch.
Oh, yes, she does. She literally walks off into a field and just collapses.
It just, like disappears. Yeah, I was like, there's
I've
someone.
seen it. I've seen it in the Avengers where some of them turn into dust and go into a different
Oh, when
dimension.
Thanos snaps his finger.
Yeah.
That was good.
Who knows? I'm excited to finish. I might finish it faster now that it's the last segment.
Yeah,
Oh.
my favorite now. Finish the rest.
Judith, so when did you read it? Because yesterday you said you hadn't started.
Halfway, and as you guys are talking, I'm just like skimming through, and I was like, oh yeah, I see that.
Oh my God, you didn't finish?
It's
I'm not
gnarly.
reading it.
No.
Yeah, it was stressful. Like I told you, this Saint Bernard like loves me and wants to just hump me the whole time. So I'm literally
Saint
like,
Bernards are so much work. My brother had one for some time,
oh,
and
really?
jeez, he was so like. I remember one time I took him in my car, and just breathing would move the car.
Oh my God. No, yeah, he's the first night with them. I was super tired because he was a lot of work, and they didn't know me, so they're kind of like about it. And Ed was here that night, and they barely knew me, so they were like kind of about me, and then they did not like her at all, and I'm like stressful. The next day, I woke up super early to go hiking and running and all that stuff, and it was just a mess. I didn't have time, and I was like, I'm gonna do it today, and I didn't do it because the dog kept trying to hunt me, and I kept trying to push him away, and
Yeah, interesting.
Oh my God.
I've been with my mom to dog sit those Florida Basset hounds a few times. The first time I did not like the dogs because I mean they're a decent size and they get very excited when you come to the house and they just start running and bumping into you and trying to nip at you and
yeah, they forget their size. I mean, especially because he's a puppy, so he's just and
oh
then
my gosh, yeah, that's nuts.
oh my God. Yeah. I
The
mean, he's
last
cute
time
now.
that I went, it wasn't as bad, but yeah, there's just well, two of them are very old, so they can't really do much anymore. But the younger ones, oh my gosh, they are very needy.
I like this book so far.
It's interesting.
I like it too. I'm enjoying it a lot. I like creepy things. So.
I need to go back and read the part where it's talking about how Howard got his power, or whatever you would call it, because I thought that was interesting, and it didn't seem like they were in Mexico. Must have sound like they were back in England because they're right next to a sea and a cave.
Oh yeah, something about like she saw that in a dream, no? Where it's like a woman wasn't they were all in a cave and the woman was being like
Yeah.
I think, I think that's when Howard was working somewhere, right? He was like treated really bad.
Mm-hmm.
If I remember correctly.
Yeah. I have to go back and read it again because I have to read more carefully because we thought there's a lot of backstory and wasn't paying attention too much because it was kind of confusing.
I would agree.
It was like a dream. She wrote it
Yeah.
like it was a dream, so it was confusing. But there was priests involved.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I really remember. And then the lady, the mother.
And a bunch of workers.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't they make him drink something like an acid or something?
Yeah, that's what I can't remember exactly what was going on.
I know they made him drink something that made him start coughing out stuff.
Maybe like the first dose of the fungus.
Yeah, because the people worship the fungus or something like that, right? That's what I understood. And they used it kind of like to help heal themselves, but then he knew that it could be more or something like that, and that's when he ended up killing everyone. But if he is, what did it say, like 300 or 400 years old?
Mm-hmm.
and it's the 1950s there, then that would be like 1400s, which is like when the first people were starting to come to the Americas to explore and colonize. So maybe he somehow went over and landed in Mexico and found like a very secluded group.
Mm-hmm.
I like how this scarf's coming out.
What do you think? Because I just read the part where it says you're ours, like it or not, you're ours and you're us.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that happened because she stepped into the house? So as soon as you step into the house, or because Catalina is already like married into the family, and because she's family with Catalina, you're like, well, the family's already taken.
I think it could be both, but I think definitely her being in the house has something to do with it, and her staying so long.
Mm.
In Dracula, one of the funny things about the vampires is that the vampire cannot come into your house unless he is invited.
I feel like I've heard that. So
When someone invites him, then he can come in whenever the hell he wants. So
the
I mean,
Vampire Diaries, I think. That's right.
like, you know, once I thought it was like the song Hotel California where it says you can check out anytime you want, but you can never leave. So when she was in there, you know, I think that had a lot to do with it.
Do you think she'll be able to leave now that she's part of them?
I
Maybe
don't think so.
she'll be able to leave for short periods of time, but she will be compelled to come back.
Like she's
Virgil traveled out for some time, right? But he came back. Francis has never left. I'm not sure why, but
I think it's only if the house or the fungus lets you.
only if it's for the need of the family or something, right? Because Florence also left, but it was just to get herself a husband and see if she could birth another girl for the purposes of Howard. But it didn't happen.
Yeah, so I think that potion is going to help her somehow leave the house temporarily, or the cigarettes somehow.
So she will definitely get more with like passive resistance then, because if the fungus and Howard think that she's starting to comply, like Francis said, then she could make a secret plan and then make a big move later.
I thought it was trippy when the doctor was like, he basically gave up his daughter and she died in bed.
Mm-hmm.
So continues to like help them. Like, bro, you killed your daughter.
Yeah. I think that goes to show how brainwashed they all are, though.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it seemed to tick him off, though. Like, it was a sensitive topic.
Mm-hmm. Or like how she was fighting back. She's definitely not as passive as Catalina for whatever reason.
Looking back at that cave scene, it looked like he was sick and was dying, and he happened upon these people that had the fungus, and they gave him some, but there's an altar there as if there was already a god of the fungus. It was weird.
What chapter is that? I can't find it.
I just lost it. I'll try to find it again. So I wonder if there was a priest there and an altar and he's a god, how much religion goes into the whatever's happening to them.
Shall see.
This is wild. I'm just reading through like that. I'm like, what in the world?
It starts on page 205, Rico. That cave scene.
Thanks.
It is wild. They're very interesting, the fungus part, because we thought vampires, selling himself to the devil was
It was
much
more like scientific than we ended up thinking, even though it's still supernatural. I want to show you guys my new yarn that I'm knitting. It's kind of like
That's a
rose
pretty color.
with
Why
white
does
and
that
then
remind me of a cinnamon roll?
it does. I just started. It's little right now.
So it's gonna change colors.
Yeah, it'll have stripes,
Ooh.
blocks of color.
That's cool.
Ooh, you'll have to show us when you're done.
Yeah, I'm excited.
The family tree thing is confusing too. Like,
If Francis, if they do end up together, that's weird because he's a little messed up DNA wise.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Don't they? No, never mind. Because since I haven't finished, I was like, I know they're talking about the whole mushroom stuff being like the main thing that's affecting them, but I was like, even with like incest, like I'm not 100% sure if it does happen, but I think it's a higher risk for genetic abnormalities. So I'm wondering if they don't know that, you know, because they're trying to keep it in the family, but like let's say what was that the one that was having miscarriages? Wasn't she part of the family?
Wait, can you say that again?
The one that was, what was her name? The first wife of Virgil. So it was,
The doctor's daughter.
but they were still part of the family, right?
Distantly, yes.
What I learned from like working at the clinic and stuff, like obviously the miscarriages happen because certain parts of the baby are not being produced correctly, which like I said, if you do it within the family, like incest, there's higher chances of genetic abnormalities. So I'm like, they probably don't know that because they want to keep doing this.
Maybe that's why they have other people. They're bringing in other people, like Catalina and Noemi.
Yeah.
Because they're not necessarily part of the family.
But
Maybe they're slowly figuring it out.
Oh, true.
Like experimenting, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because what is it, Katie? Bio, a higher chance of recessive alleles or something being represented on the chromosomes when there's like basically you're pulling from the same gene pool, and sometimes those recessive ones are the ones that, if there's two or more, can cause, you know, health defects and issues.
Yeah, I usually get dominant, recessive, and then even if it's dominant and recessive, the dominant takes over. But maybe they're getting recessive, and then they're weak.
Recessive.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they get freaks like Virgil, who's
something. A very creepy something, yeah.
So, like our theory from last time where we said that Catalina was pregnant and all that stuff probably is not true, right?
Well, she could be. We don't know that she's not.
You understand this perfectly.
And are they giving birth to humans, or are they giving birth to snake eggs? Because they keep talking about these eggs and snakes.
Yeah.
Or these tumors.
I was trying to like decode Ruth's letter because she says an egg, and she keeps saying God, which I'm assuming it's Howard, and then obviously you know that stuff. But she said an egg, so maybe it's a
I
snake.
love how they're discussing it in between them.
Think about the book.
Wait, quick question though, because the part that Rico had me reread was the part where like he kills the priest and all stuff, the part in italics on page 207, like 2 paragraphs down. Doesn't he take another lady with him, like on the boat or something? And
It's
So
his first, because he talks, there's that woman in the cave with them and he takes her home, but he's like, she probably won't last, but good thing I have 2 sisters at home that.
right, okay. I'm just wondering, like, because I feel like I do think that Noemi has like more compatibility because she does have more like native blood in her. That's the only thing I could think of. And maybe that's what he thought back to, those other like Native women or the Native people, and how like they harnessed the power of the fungus, not in the same way that he did, but they used it to help heal themselves. Maybe that's why he was so intrigued with like Noemi's darker skin and different look at the beginning on the first dinner.
And I also had the thought, like maybe they were able to keep it in the family more when they were in England because they were on their soil. And I'm wondering when, you know how they said when they came to Mexico, they brought over all these Englishmen?
Yeah, they didn't make it.
Or like just all of his children who didn't make it, all his sons, his tribe, army of spawns.
I think that the way to kill this thing is going to be with fire, because in that paragraph on page 207, I think it kind of says how Doyle killed some of the people in the cave with fire. And my understanding is that he killed their god, so then he became the god.
But was the priest the god though? That's like the question I have, because sometimes the priest can be seen as just like a communicator of the real god. But if it's a mushroom, then they might just be having, you know, like out of body experiences and hallucinations.
Like they're high.
But of course, there must be more if Howard is able to live for so long. So I guess I need to know more to really decide what I think about it.
It's almost like a cult.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, Howard would definitely, and Virgil would fit the characteristics of a cult leader, right? Like charming, smart, relatively good looking, where people are just going to be like, okay, I'll do whatever you say. And, you know, be very afraid or unwilling to go against what they say, like Charles Manson. Which could mean that he is a sociopath. Because he seems very into himself. He doesn't really care about, you know, Catalina based on the things that he said about her in the past. He just wants to know like how he can advance himself. Maybe that's why he/Howard are increasingly interested in Noemi, because they know that she may be a vessel for their further spawn. Plus, you know, she's probably going to be, or possibly, because she does have a brother, but she might be getting some of her dad's money from his company. So I'm not sure very much.
Another part I don't understand is this part of the family tree, because he had brothers. So, because they have Florence and Francis, Florence was this is the daughter of Leonard, something like that.
Leland.
Yeah. So were the brothers also have immortality too? Or is it just because they're in, like, how did they die? I can't remember. Did Howard kill them off maybe?
I wonder if because Howard was the one that killed the priest, maybe he was able to harness more of that power. Brothers were not.
Because I think, did Ruth? I don't know if Ruth did it. That was in the previous section. I remember that because I was doing the timeline and I was like thinking that Francis got the horrible side because one, they killed his dad, but then his grandparents. So like Francis and Florence both like got the shitty side of, you know, of all of this. I mean, even though everything seems kind of horrible, but Florence lost her parents and her husband, and Francis lost his parent, his grandparent, you know, like I feel like they lost more than the other side of the family.
Yeah.
I want to say Ruth killed them. I don't know.
Oh, you're right. She did kill like all the family supposedly, but only a few survived, right?
Yeah. And I think it was because they were trying to have Ruth and Michael being the son of Leland. They wanted them to marry. She wanted to be with the other one, Aurelio Benito. Sorry, Aurelio. That's what I'm saying. It's confusing. The family tree is like
All twisted.
I don't get it. Like I wrote it down and I look at it and I'm like, and then you find out that they're not cousins or sisters. So then you're like, is everyone brother and sister? That's gross.
That's the truth, yeah. Maybe they were just saying they were cousins because sometimes cousins can look very alike, but they didn't want to scandalize like other people. Because back then it was way more common to marry your cousin.
I still she should have just left when things got weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On her.
It was her stubbornness and her pride, I feel, that made her stay because she didn't want to return as a quote unquote failure to her dad. But then since the men don't like treat her like very respectfully, I think she wants to just like, you know, defy them.
For herself.
Yeah, and prove herself.
I think she also cares for her cousin, even though I feel like they did drift apart when she got married.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like at some point when they were younger, they were close. Like, you know, you have those cousins that you were pretty close with and now you're not so much, but you still have that little bond. Like at some point we were really chill. So unless they do something bad, you completely like still somehow have that, I think.
Your best cousin.
From my experience. At least from my experience.
Oh yeah, I texted my cousin who I haven't seen in years now.
Yeah, but you're still super cool. Like, yes, there's that family thing, but it's also like when you were kids, like it was just such a good bond that it
We
just,
grew up together, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Whether you see each other years or not. Yep. So next section is the end. Woo!
Da-da-da.
I'm pissed.